books came in May this year. So there's 300 books and journals. The books are all different poets. They're all in alphabetical order, and alphabetical order of surname. Some books are in translation as well. And at the bottom row here, we have the journal. So these are the magazines. So if people want to send their poems to different magazines to see if they can get them published, these are some of the journals. There are so many journals at the moment, and we're going to be collecting more journals. But what they expect you to do, and what they like you to do before you send your poems, is to see the kind of poems that they publish. Because not everybody will just publish anything. Even if they like it, if that's not what the journal does, they won't publish it, because they say this is not the style of our journal. So before you send to a journal, you need to know it. So that's why we have them here for you to have a look at in terms of a kind of journal. Some of them pay, some of them don't. So that is also an incentive. But that's for you, that's all part of your research. So this is what we're trying to do as well, is bring in a lot of contemporary poets. So you can see the kind of work that is being published today in the different journals. So yes, a lot of them, for example, I was speaking to Bakri this morning, and he was asking about Yeats. And so we don't have Yeats because we know that that is something you'll get accessible from school a lot. But what some of these poets do, they become inspired by some of those classic poets, and they use their own style to influence their own work. And that's something else we would need to introduce and encourage you to do. The other thing I would like to see happen a lot more of, that we do not see enough, is that you all speak at least 2 languages, 3, maybe 4. You can mix those languages. You mix the English with your own language to create your own style. You can write totally in Wolof, totally in Mandinka. Yes. We need more of that, okay? We definitely need to have more of that. We're going to be doing some recordings as well, so that we have the audio too. But when I was judging a poetry competition for New African Poets last year, I was given the short list of about 30 poets. There was about 600 entered. I had the long list of about 30 poets. Only one person mixed some of their languages, I think English with a Ghanaian language. So even though her poetry wasn't great, she was at one of the top of my list, because she wasn't just saying, okay, we're just going to write in English. She was using her own cultural aspects to put into the poem, and that's very important as well. We must be doing more of that. So I'd like to encourage you to experiment with that as well. This is why when Mr. Wisdom, he did his poem yesterday, he's got one poem, he's got about 10 languages in one poem, and it's like a rap. And he delivered it so well, it was so much fun. I wish he'd done that one yesterday, but we'll get him to do more things like that.
Can I say something on that note?
Yeah, sure.
On that note, I want to piggyback on that. One reason why this is good is also because you can present this poetry also to older people that may not have gone to school.
Exactly.
Okay, and that widens your audience. Okay, and so they should also be able to enjoy this art form. Yes. So that's something, another reason to consider that.
Yes. So I should actually say the actual African Poetry Book Fund is sponsored by 2 American people, a couple called Laura and Robert Silliman. They gave Kwame Dawes the money to set up the African Poetry Book Fund, and they didn't tell him what to do with it, they just said, here's the money, do what you think needs to be done. And one of the things, as far as he was concerned, is we need more poetry libraries in Africa, so that you guys don't have to study poetry necessarily abroad. You can study it at home, and you don't have to feel that, okay, you're losing out in that way. They also publish books. This is what I really want to show you. They publish books too. So they have a classic series of a classic African poet. They will do a new collection of a new poet who's never published before but has a full-length manuscript, and that's your first book. And then there's also some small, slim books that we call chapbooks, and they come in a series. And that's just the first step. So you don't have to have a full 80-page book, maybe just 25, 26 pages, so that you start getting your work out and known. So they do that in a series. So at whatever stage you're at, there's an opportunity to be published. And then as well, now we're going to try and be doing the anthologies. So even if you have 1-2 poems, that will also have the opportunity to get published. So that's basically the library as we've started. Later on this year, by May, we will have another same number again. So we'll fill this up. So some of the books there are owned by the National Centre of Arts and Culture, and they have some fantastic books there. They're not poetry books, but they are art books. And we're going to ask, Auntie Fatwa and Jaya and I thought, we need to ask if we can allow, and obviously put back, because they have some fantastic books there in the Gambia.